Hey everyone, welcome to Two Guys and a Mouse, the show that gives you news, tips, and tricks to give you the most out of your Disney vacation. I'm Lance and I'm here with Les, and we're going to continue our discussion on the Food and Wine Festival at EPCOT, coming up next. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in previous videos we were discussing Food and Wine Festival at EPCOT, and we started out with planning your trip, your accommodations, the different ways to get down to Disney, and the different methods of transportation while you're down at the parks. We talked briefly about the dining plans. We also talked about the different dining options that you have at Disney. So now we're actually going to get into Food and Wine, and I want to know, I've never been there, Les, so you got to give me a little bit of a primer. Give me a little bit of a history of, what is Food and Wine, how did it start, and, what's it all about?
All right, so Food and Wine Festival occurs every fall. It started back in 1996, and in that first year, it was only 30 days long, so it was actually very short. And then each subsequent year, it pretty much got longer and longer, to the point where we are today in 2021, and this is the longest that it's ever been. So this year it actually started in July and goes until just after the middle of November. So they used to run anywhere between, basically they were September and October, then it went into August, now we're into July. So it happens every fall though. Last year was a little bit different though because of the pandemic. It wasn't the full true EPCOT Food and Wine Festival. It was actually even branded differently. It was called a Taste of EPCOT Food and Wine. So not as many booths last year. Obviously, park attendance was lighter last year than it is now. So plus it didn't help that they had actually furloughed a lot of staff last year, a lot of cast members that some of which will help, staff the Food and Wine Festival. And two of the big reasons that they didn't have staff last year was that they canceled their college program. So they didn't have all those college kids that typically, in the fall and the spring semester are there to help as employees, and their overseas program or their exchange program, where they're actually bringing in cast members that are from those countries that are represented in the World Showcase at EPCOT, Canada, Germany, Morocco, all those countries, right? They just they canceled the program just like they did the college one. Plus, there were a lot of travel restrictions worldwide because of the pandemic. So that's another reason why it was kind of a shell of its former self. But it's back this year. Still not the same as it's been in the past. A lot of the special events that they had, where you cook with the chefs or you get insider tips from chefs and stuff like that, or tastings, special tastings, food and drink that you would pay extra. That's not included in your admission to EPCOT. A lot of those things have been cut out this year, unfortunately. But a little bit later on, we'll talk about what a couple of the events that they do have this year. So I'm glad it's back. Obviously, it's a big money maker for them. People love it. It's one of several festivals that they hold at EPCOT, but it's, I think, probably one of the, if not the most popular one. It's got to be near the top. So a great place to try different dishes and drinks from around the world. So you can't really go wrong. I absolutely love it.
Gotcha. And you said it started in '96. That's a long time. That's crazy. Is this one of the oldest running festivals that they have? Because I know that they got rid of Not So Scary, turned it into something called Boo Bash, and then the Very Merry is not the Very Merry anymore. It's something else. I don't remember what it's called. Do you think that moving forward into 2021 and beyond, do you think that it's here to stay, or do you think that it's going to morph into something else, or what are your kind of like thoughts speculations, if you will, on that.
Yeah, I can't really imagine it's going to go anywhere. I mean, it's so popular. It drives a lot of business into the park during the fall, when typically, that used to be considered off season. Like I mentioned in an earlier episode, the fall was kind of like wasn't as busy because all the kids are back in school. Families may not want to pull the kids out of their classes. So, but it's definitely a popular festival, and I think it's going to do well this year because people were restricted from traveling last year. People didn't take vacations last year. So now that it's mostly back again, it's not 100% of what it's formerly been. But I think people are excited that it's back bigger than it was last year. So I think a lot of people are definitely going to take advantage of it this year. And it started earlier, so.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about 2021 Food and Wine Festival. So, again, I've never been there, so I'm kind of relying on you to give us all of the good stuff. Does it cost extra, like the Boo Bash or the Very Merry? Do they kick people out of the parks at a certain time and then say, "Hey, food and wine"? What's it all about? Like, how does it work? Do you do you have a wristband that you get, or what goes on with it?
Yeah, so I mean that's a great question, and the great thing about it is it doesn't cost you any extra to go into the festivals or the World Showcase, or basically all of the festivities and the food is. So as long as you have a ticket and you make a park reservation to EPCOT, you're in. So again, the park is basically, if you imagine the park is split into two, most of the rides and the attractions are in one part, and then the World Showcase, we'll call that the second part. And the World Showcase is where all the countries are. That's where pretty much most of the food booths are, not all of them, but most of them. And it's basically just imagine a giant circle, and there's a lake in the middle, and you basically just walk in a giant circle, and you can visit every single booth that they have there. I think there's 32 booths this year, or 32 countries and or different specialty booths that they have. Some of them were not supposed to open until October 1st. It was actually just announced earlier this week or last week that some of them Disney actually opened early, so you don't even have to wait till October 1st anymore. So yeah.
So does the booths that they put out, are they special? Like, what I mean to say though is do they take the best dishes or snacks or whatever from each one of the restaurants in each of the different countries and say, okay, this is what we have, and they put it in a booth, kind of like, so if you've ever been to Animal Kingdom Lodge, in the concierge lounge, they have like some offerings from Sanaa and Boma, and it just kind of, it's like, it's not a full-blown menu, it's just limited, right? And it's like, oh, try this or try this. Is that how it is at Food and Wine, or is it a completely different menu? Like, oh, this year we're gonna showcase this special thing from this country, and kind of sad panda, if you miss it, then it doesn't come back. Is that how that works, or is it?
So they're each of the countries that are there year-round in the World Showcase at Epcot. They'll have their own booth outside on the sidewalk, and they're gonna do what you said. They're gonna take some select dishes that are probably fan favorites, or they're dishes that foodies crave from those particular restaurants inside those countries, like Mexico, Germany, America, Japan, all those. And you're gonna get a smaller serving size of that meal or that entree. As an example, in the Canada Pavilion, the restaurant, which is one of my absolute favorite on all of Walt Disney World property, is Le Cellier, and we love it because of their filet mignon. So if you go to the little Canada booth out on the World Showcase sidewalk, you're gonna get a little slice of their famous filet mignon. Now, obviously, you're not getting like a 6 or 8 ounce portion here, it's going to be much, much smaller. The price is not going to be what you pay if you have a reservation for the sit-down restaurant. But you're still going to, for that, then, and that's, my example is probably one of the more expensive ones. So for that little piece of filet, you're going to pay about $14, $15. I forget what the exact price is offhand, but, and you're going to get maybe a little side dish with that. But yeah, it's a lot of the restaurants, you get smaller portions outside. And then there's going to be some booths there for countries that are not part of the World Showcase year-round. Australia is just one, for example. So you're going to get some dishes there that you traditionally can't get outside of the Food and Wine Festival. So same with some of the drinks. Some of the drinks are going to be the same ones that you can get in the restaurants, but some of them are going to be new. So it's a mix.
And all of these, is it cash only, or is it Magic Band, or when the dining plan does come back, like what is it, quick service credit, snack credit? How does it work, and what's the kind of average that we should expect to pay, for doing the Food and Wine Festival?
Yeah, so while your admission into the festival is included in your park admission, so you're not paying anything extra to basically go in and walk around. But obviously the food you have to pay for, that is not included. So the food and the drinks, cash, credit card, typically when dining plan was an option, on the menu boards at each of those booths, it'll have a little insignia that you can, it identifies basically that you can use your dining plan to pay for that food or that drink. Since the dining plan isn't quite back yet, I'm sure once it comes back, and you'll be able to do that as long as the Food and Wine Festival is still going on. If they decide not to bring dining plan back until after Food and Wine Festival, then for next year, yes, it's definitely an option. Or they have obviously Disney gift cards you can use, and at the merchandise stores, they actually during Food and Wine Festival, they'll give you like a little wristband that has like a mini card on it. And you can basically load that up with as much money as you want on it, and you just put it around your wrist, and now when you're walking around, you need to pay for your food or your drink, you just have them scan that card and you're done. That way you don't even have to carry cash if you don't want to, or other cards. Just carry around that gift card with you.
Very cool. Very cool.
Average prices. Wow, you asked me that. So
yeah,
little history back in 1996 when it first started. From my research online, they were saying that most food items range between $1 and $3, which is kind of amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So not
That's
so
unheard
much
of for Disney.
Yeah, not so much
Even
anymore.
back in '96 prices.
Right.
Right.
So I would say probably the average low end that you're going to pay, it's probably around $5. And I think the most expensive that I saw was around $14, $15 for, but that was the filet, so that's at the top end. You're probably going to average anywhere between, I would say $5 to $8 or $9 is the average for whatever it is that you're going to get. And are they going to fill you up?
Roughly, I was going to say, what would you say, your average spending to get, full, on Food and Wine? Let's say you wanted to go there as one of your dinners, what could you expect to pay to be there for, a meal?
Yeah, so everybody's going to be different, right? But, for some people, and I'm not kidding here, some people who like to eat and really love the quality and the selection of food that they have there. I think at one point during one of the Food and Wines, I probably had 3 or 4 different dishes for dinner. So we didn't have a dining reservation in the park that night. That is our dinner. We're walking around and we're picking out things that interest us, or they give you a actual little paper passport book that has everything in it. It tells you what all the booths are. It tells you what all of the food selections are for each booth, what every single drink is at each booth. If there are special events, it'll have information on that. It's everything. And you can, I mean, if you have a pen or a pencil, you can actually check things off or take notes of what you liked, what you didn't like, or, you know. So they do try and make it fun and help you get the most out of your experience there. So, but yeah, I think at one point I ate 3, 4, maybe 5 different meals, and I was stuffed. You know, it was a lot of food, but
they had to roll you out of the park, huh?
yeah, but I had like, that was all dishes from different countries. So I was, eating like a curry dish from India. I had lamb from Australia. The filet, or their cheddar cheese and bacon soup, which was phenomenal, from Canada. There's just so many. It's crazy.
Cool. Wow, sounds like a fun time. But wow, all right. Well, I mean, oh, that sounds great. So unfortunately, we're out of time for this episode. Next episode, we are going to talk a little bit about the special events at Food and Wine, and a little bit of planning strategies on how you're going to navigate all of the stuff down at Food and Wine. But guys, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn notifications on so that you know whenever we release new episodes and new content. And guys, if you wouldn't mind, check us out on Facebook. And thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.